Hey everybody, in today's video I'm going to be giving you a look at the barometric pressure on the watch face of the Garmin Instinct 2 versus the Casio Pro Trek PRG-600. Now the purpose of this video isn't to say one of these is better than the other. These are two totally different watches, but it's really more for the person out there like me who likes barometric pressure and they want to see how does it display on each of these individual watches. So let's start with the Casio Pro Trek because it's a lot simpler in terms of how you're going to view your barometric pressure and the things you can see. You have a barometer mode on here, and you also have a time display mode, which you can keep your barometric pressure on at all times. Unfortunately, I shouldn't say keep barometric pressure. You can keep your barometric pressure trend on at all times. Right now, I'm in what's called time mode. You can see my current time. I've got date down here. If I press this top left button, though, you can toggle that, and one of the options you've got to keep on your display is your barometric pressure graph. This is showing 12 different bars, or I should say dots, that are representing the last 24 hours of barometric pressure. The one that's blinking at the far right here is my most recent activity. So at any point I can look at my watch and I can see what the barometric pressure has been doing over the last 24 hours. The other thing you can do on this watch is if I simply press the bottom left button once, it will put me into my barometer mode. Barometer mode is a little bit different because not only do you have your historical graph, but you also have your barometric pressure reading, which is nice. The negative about the Casio is after 1 hour's time, if you don't do anything, it will kick you out of the barometer mode and put you back in your main timekeeping mode. So you can't leave your barometric pressure on at all times on the Casio. That's really about it though in terms of just basic viewing of your barometric pressure on the Pro Trek. Now, if we look at the Garmin Instinct, this is the Instinct 2. The Instinct 1 works pretty much the same way. It's kind of similar in terms of what you can do. If you look at the top left of my watch face, you can see a plot area that is showing the barometric pressure trend over the last 24 hours. And if you look at it compared to the Casio, they both pretty much look the same. The barometric pressure is a little bit off on the two. That's going to be a difference in the sensors on the watches. 30.35 is what the Garmin is showing, 30.10 is what the Casio is showing. What's cool about the Garmin and where it's got a lot of advantage in terms of barometric pressure is I can leave my barometric pressure and that plot area on at all times without having to do anything, where again the Casio will kick us out of the barometer mode. The other thing that's nice about the Garmin Instinct is you have different watch faces that even display this even better than the one I'm using. So I'm going to go ahead and press the menu button. I'm going to choose watch face, and let's go down and look for one of those. The one that I really enjoy is this one. Again, we're kind of looking at the same thing as we saw on the Casio, but you have a whole lot more detail here. I've got my barometric pressure. I've got my barometric pressure over the last 6 hours. That's what this little arrow icon is showing. And then I've got this plot area that's a whole lot bigger than what you can see on the Casio. The other thing that's nice, you also have a barometer. I'm not going to really get into the barometer too much, but I can go into the actual barometer on here and I can see the actual values for my low and my high over the last 24 hours. The other thing that's nice is I have the option to change this plot area, whereas on the Casio, it's always going to show you the last 24 hours. On the Garmin, you can actually adjust this. So while I'm in the barometer, I'm going to press and hold the menu button. I'm going to choose barometer options. I'm going to go down to plot, and I can change this and say, show me the last 48 hours, 24, 12, or 6 hours. I'm just going to switch it to 6 hours just so you can see. And now my barometric pressure on my watch face is showing the last 6 hours versus 24 hours. So you've got a lot more flexibility in terms of your barometric pressure viewing on the Garmin Instinct than you do on the Casio. But again, the thing that's cool with the Casio is that you never have to charge it. There's no smart features, anything like that that comes into play. From a barometric pressure standpoint, they're both the same. They're both using sensors on the watches. But nonetheless, that gives you a quick glimpse. Again, there's a whole lot, especially with the Garmin, there's a whole lot of things we can get into with the barometric pressure, and the Casio has some other barometric pressure features. But just in terms of viewing the barometric pressure, that's a look at the PRG-600 versus the Garmin Instinct 2. I hope the video helps.